So hi guys, welcome to Crazy Burger. Today we're going to be looking at PICO-8 and TIC-80, which are fantasy consoles, so to speak, that we can play on the Raspberry Pi 400. And we're going to show you how you can do that and some of the games that are involved. I'm going to show you that next. Okay guys, first thing you want to do is go onto the PICO-8 website, which I'll leave the link in the description. It's lexaloffley.com/PICO-8 or PICO-8. And when you go on here, you've got a quick look at all the sort of carts that are featured. But if you want to download it, you need to pay for it. Right now it's $14.99, which kind of roughly works out to about £10–11 or something. And obviously you've got the different versions. You can get a Windows version, which you can play on your desktop or laptop, or you can get, which we need, the Raspberry Pi version. And once you get that, you go and download it. Okay, well, you get a zip file, and then what you get is these files, and what you need to then do is transfer these files to the Raspberry Pi. Okay guys, once you've got your files, you need to connect to the Raspberry Pi. Now the best way of doing that is through your Wi-Fi. On your PC or your laptop, and connect using the IP address or even just calling it Batocera. So once you go in, you click your share, and you need to download all of these files on the left to the BIOS folder, and you've got PICO-8. If it's not there, you need to create it and just drag and drop them into here, and this is the place to keep them. You also, I've got an extra couple of files here, which is basically just text files which you can download from the internet. This one's just this one here. In fact, the only one extra I've got here is the Spore, which doesn't really work. So what you need is the controllers, and this you can actually download from the internet. It's fairly easy to get if you just want to Google that and download it, easy peasy. But you also need to do, not really sure if it actually makes any difference, but in the BIOS folders, if you go back one, so if you go to system, so if you go to system configs, and where are we, emulation station, and I've got this file here which is the PICO-8 systems file. So you need a config file that should be in this folder here. If you don't have this, then you probably have to create it. You can easily just download this from the internet. It's on, I'll leave a link to the Batocera actual website where you can actually copy this. It's very easy to do. And if you don't have, I've used File Viewer Plus, which you can download. I'll leave a link for that as well. Because I don't have Linux, it's just a Windows PC, so you can't actually view and create all this stuff. So if you use this, you can go and copy and paste it and save it, and save that in there. Now the next, obviously the most important thing is you need the games. So the games goes into the ROMs folders under PICO-8. If it's not already there, you may need to create it, but it should be already there. So then what you need to do is drop your .p8, .png files into this folder here, the carts file, and then you should be good to go. But to get those carts, I'll show you how to actually do that from the actual website. So if you go into the website, this is really just the main page. You can actually download them from here. If you right click, pick a game, doesn't really matter what one it is. If you just pick one and sort of right click it, and you can just save the image, and then just save it as that, whatever folder you want to actually save it into, and that's really all you do for that. But to go into a little bit more detail, if you go to the carts folder, and you can actually go and browse all the games that are available, and if you want to actually sort of download one, click on whatever one you fancy. Say we just click on this sort of Burger Time one. You can also play it from here, see if you like it, and then you can download it. But to download it, if you click this little cart box here, and then what you do is you get this little picture. So right click it, save the image, and then just save it to the folder you like, and then also transfer it into your ROMs folder on your Raspberry Pi. And you eventually end up with something looking a little bit like that with all your sort of cart files. And that's fairly straightforward. It's pretty simple to do. So now what we'll do is we'll boot up the Raspberry Pi and we'll show you the games actually working. So guys, also if you're wanting to play TIC-80, It's quite similar to PICO-8. Some might actually prefer this. Now, I definitely had no problems with TIC-80, whereas some of the PICO-8 stuff I had a few issues, which we'll go into in a little bit of detail. But TIC-80 is pretty much the same thing, except it's completely free. You don't need any license. All you need to do is download the games from here. If you go into the actual play section, sort of browse, look through the games, you can play them and see if you like any of them, then just pick one, whatever one you fancy. So if you click on it, and then you've got the option here to download cartridge, and that's pretty much it. It just starts downloading to your PC or laptop, and then you can then copy that to your TIC-80 folder, so wherever you've kept your games. So we need to go back to ROMs, and there should be a TIC-80 folder to actually paste your ROMs into. Now, you see I've got quite a few here, so we just copy and paste the TIC files into here, and that's really it. There's nothing complicated about TIC-80. PICO-8 is a little bit more complicated because you need to pay for the license to actually get them to run, but TIC-80 is completely free, so you can download the games and play them as free as you like. But without further ado, let's go on to the actual Raspberry Pi and show the games actually in action. So once you get onto the Raspberry Pi, this is running Batocera. It might be slightly different if you're running RetroPie or some of the other emulators on Raspberry Pi, but this is under Batocera. It might work similar. TIC-80, I'm pretty sure it's just the same, but PICO-8, so your files will look a little bit like this. And to get the actual pictures here, what you need to do is go to Scrape. Make sure you've got yourself a screen scraper account set up. It's very easy. Go into screen scraper, Google it, and set yourself up an account. Put your details down the bottom, and then do scrape now, and it'll scrape all the sort of game art for you and sort of make your games look a little bit better rather than just sort of blank boxes. Then you need to go to game settings. So you go to game settings, update the game lists, and that basically just updates all the pictures as you can see here. So what we'll do is we'll play the PICO-8 games first, and then we'll play TIC-80 games. Another thing to note is you can actually boot straight into the PICO-8 sort of console, but it doesn't seem to work on Batocera. I've not figured out how to use it. It just sort of goes blank and nothing actually happens. So I'm still figuring that out, but you can actually play the games here. So this is probably one of the most famous ones right now, Celeste. And you can see it jumps straight into playing Celeste, and it's a really cool little game. And the thing with PICO-8, I mean, not all the games work perfectly. I found that a few issues with them. So it's going to be a little bit hit and miss. I'm not really sure what's going on with them. It does say some tips are that you should play these games on your desktop before you actually save them over to the Raspberry Pi. That's a tip, and it did seem to work with some of them, but I still had issues trying to play them. So that's a tip maybe to look for. Play the games on your desktop first, then save it over to the Raspberry Pi and see if that actually makes a difference if you have issues with it. But yeah, it's a little bit hit and miss. It doesn't seem to be perfect. I'm not entirely sure why. And you see, this is quite a cool little game. Anyway guys, so to jump out of that you need to press the select and start button. There's no actual other way to actually get out here except just pressing this select and start to go back to the main sort of menu. Another little tip is if you press the select button and you go to advanced system options, you can have the option of which emulator to actually use. There is only two, but sometimes the games work better or don't work at all, so it might be worth switching between one or the other if you do have issues. But like I said, out of all the games I've tried, I've looked like maybe 50 or 60% of the games have worked and some haven't, and it's a bit frustrating, which is why I sort of looked into TIC-80, which is similar, different games, but it's still quite cool. If you've never looked at this before, it's definitely worth looking into. There's a lot of really cool little games, which I've really enjoyed playing. Now this one actually seems to have issues when it's running, and I'm not sure what's going on with it at all. It seems to be a little bit flawed, as you can see, which is one of the things which is a bit frustrating about this. So sort of jump out of that. Some of the games work really well, and some don't, so I'm not exactly sure what is going on. Like this one here, Pico Racer, is really good. I really enjoy it. And one of the other games that I've played on the channel before called Ramps doesn't actually work on here, which is kind of a frustrating. But I've got it to work on other emulators, so I'm not sure what the heck's going on here. Hopefully we'll get some updates and maybe the emulation will work better in the future. But right now it's a little bit ropey, I would say. See, some of these games work really well. This one is great fun to play. And if you actually go onto the website, there's tons, and probably hundreds and hundreds of games. And if you feel that way inclined, you can go and actually make your own games. And sort of discover sort of coding, which is obviously what Raspberry Pi is all about as well, if you're really interested in that. So I'm not very good at that. Okay, there's a few more. There's Pico Man, which is really just a Pac-Man sort of thing. Slimy Jump is actually quite cool. I've quite enjoyed this. Quite a fun little game. So you're constantly sort of jumping and moving. So it's saving as I go here. So your idea is really just to get to the exit, but you see the character's constantly sliding. You need to press the jump button to actually go. You can double jump as well. And yeah, if you die, you go all the way back to the beginning. Pretty addictive little game, but pretty tough at the same time. And there's also this story of Zelda. So obviously it's a Zelda clone. It's quite impressive how it's actually done, considering all the memory constraints that this little console has. So it's sort of titled a fantasy console, because no, the console really doesn't exist. It's all completely digital. It's just pure fantasy. It's kind of cool. Not really looked into this game in too much depth, but it's quite fun. Sort of interact with different characters. I'm not sure how in depth the actual game is though. So I guess it must have some depth if we've got some things to buy here. So I don't have any coins yet to do anything with. But yeah, it's actually quite cool. Probably worth a little bit of exploration. And there's a lot of really cool games. So what we'll do now, guys, we'll maybe try to jump out to PICO-8 and we'll look at TIC-80. It's pretty similar, but I think it might look a little bit more in depth, shall we say. I mean, I don't know. Let's have a look at some of the games. Again, do the same with these games. You want to let's sort of scrape the art and then upload the files. You see, it looks like a sort of fantasy handheld controller. It looks like a doodle thing. So this is called Alter Ego, which is it was based on the Spectrum version. And interestingly enough, this game was recently released on the Mega Cat 2 collection on the arcade. It's kind of quite fun. It's sort of got a ghostly shape that you can switch between places. It's quite impressive, quite addictive, pretty tricky, but yeah, I would highly recommend if you want to get your teeth stuck into that one. So again, you need to press the select and start button to boot out and sort of go on to other games, and there's loads. Like I say, you can go onto the website, just download as many as you like, and this one's particularly cool. It's like a first person shooter. It's probably reminds you a little bit of like Castle Wolfenstein, I guess, with the style. You've got a sort of crossbow, collect keys, arrows, potions. And we've got fireballs coming out here, so press S to open the door, and all of a sudden we'll get a big, massive bad guy. So you've got a missile as well. So you better be careful not to use them too much. But I quite enjoyed this one. This one's really quite impressive. So it takes 3 arrows to beat that big guy. So it's much like Castle Wolfenstein. You're really good through the level, trying to find the keys, get to the exit. That's that sort of thing. Sounds easy enough, but I think obviously can be quite tricky. Definitely see myself playing this one quite a lot. It's really good fun. There's lots and lots of games to try. Some of the artwork doesn't scrape, so I wouldn't really worry about it too much. There's Super Meat Boy, there's Super Mario. There's a lot of really cool games. I'll just have a look at one more. So this one is, what's it called? Todor Saves Pudmilla. Bit of a mouthful, but it kind of reminded me of Creatures on the C64. Just with the sort of graphical style and the way the sort of character jumps and shoots fireballs. That's total Creatures for me. And I found this one really fun. The graphics are quite small, quite difficult to see. But if you're playing a sort of reasonable size sort of TV or monitor, it should be okay. But I absolutely love this. The style is really cool. Quite addictive. You see, I really love this style, but it's really impressive. Really love it. Maybe have a look at one more. Guys, I hope you really enjoyed this. I mean, I would highly recommend it. The amount of games on offer on these two platforms is mind-blowing. It's absolutely amazing. I know one of them you obviously need to pay for and the other you don't, but for £10 it's actually not too bad value. I would definitely recommend having a look at it. There's so much here to look at. It's mesmerising. I really enjoyed sort of discovering new games as well. A lot of them are sort of remakes, or as the title is known as, demakes. Sort of games sort of demade in a lesser format, so to speak. So this is like a demake in itself called Super Meat Boy. Pretty tricky little game. But fun. Oh, I'm way over there. Yay! So guys, one last thing, you can actually play games on your computer, your PC, PICO-8 as well. You can download them to other devices if you've got the license. But probably the easiest play is actually to play the games directly on your PC. You can download it and have your sort of Windows version of it. Or you can start and play from these games. Great fun. Pick your game. See, there's a few games on here that don't seem to work on the console, but if you play them on here, they're perfectly fine. So I don't really understand it. For give an example, this one itself is particularly impressive. So this one I tried to download and it didn't work. It even works with the mouse. It's called Trial of the Sorcerer, and this one is really quite impressive. So it's like basically it's a dungeon crawler. And I have to say, I was blown away how cool this was. It's a little bit like the one we played on the TIC 80. But you kind of are more like a sorcerer. With a handy thing, and it runs really incredibly well. Much the same idea, but it's very addictive, and I've quite enjoyed this one. Some of the strikes you can hardly actually see. Putting that on you before you realise. Whoa, so I'm leaving that with you. Yikes. So there's the exit there, but you still need to find this key. Let me show you a couple more that I've really enjoyed, which work on here. So there's Plants vs Zombies games. There's this Peril game. This one's actually quite cool. Let me play this one. This is like a submarine style game. Because some of these don't seem to work, and I have no idea why. So if anyone knows how to actually boot straight into this console, straight from Batocera or Raspberry Pi, let me know, because I've been struggling and trying to work out and it just will not work for me. Because it would be great to just boot into the system directly and be able to download your games direct from there and play them direct from there. It's much easier. So I have managed to do it on the RG351P handheld, but not on here. It just doesn't seem to work. So I really like this game as well. It's called Little Space Rangers. So again, it doesn't work on the console, but you can play it direct from your PC. It's a great little game. Quite short, quite simple, but it's quite addictive and it's quite impressive for what it does. You can sort of grab items, guns. See, there's a little gun there. You can sort of grab it and shoot. Obviously have limited sort of ammo though. You can jump on the enemies' heads as well. And and the levels are usually quite short. You really try to get to, I think you need to try and get bits for your spaceship to try and escape. Or try and fix it, I should say, without dying, just like that. So the last one I'm going to look at today, I mean I could be here forever, there's so many games, is Ramps, which I've already featured on the channel, and I quite like it. It's like a stunt car racer style game, but it's just a bit tricky to control, but I quite enjoy it. So yeah, it definitely reminds you of stunt car racing. I think it's really cool, but there's so much that you can do here. If you've never heard of it or looked at it, please have a look at it. You'll probably be pleasantly surprised. If you love your retro gaming, then this is going to be right up your street. You'll love it. Oh, then don't do that, or you're completely off. So if you go off the track, it respawns. It automatically realises that. It's quite tricky not to go off the track at some parts. It's all about slowing down. Guys, thanks for watching the video today. Please like, subscribe, and we'll catch you again next time. Bye for now.